Hello? Is it me you're looking for? Of course it is. Hey, I'm right here. Right here. Chocolate Honey is right here in the house. Well, I'm in the car at the house. But anyway, trying to take advantage of this sunlight. What's a little bit left? Okay. Anyway, today's topic. Oh, y'all thought I forgot, didn't you? You thought I forgot. Nah. While you're chuckling, go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you have not already done so, please. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyway, today's topic is, I'm trying to make this quick, is going to be about primers. Now, I'm going to do a separate video showcasing, primers. This video is going to be, I've received several questions asking, is a primer necessary? Now, in my opinion, I'm going to say yes. Okay, back in the day, many moons ago, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't use primers. I didn't know anything about primers back then. And back then, my makeup of choice, my foundation of choice was Revlon Color Stay. Now, back then, before they changed the formula, you didn't need a primer. I mean, I put that stuff on, I cleanse, moisturize, put that Revlon Color Stay on, and I'm good. I did not need powder or anything. But they've since changed the formula and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, now that I know about primers, yes, I highly recommend primer. Reason number one, what's the purpose of a primer? The first reason for using a primer is to help fill in pores. It helps smooth your skin. If you have texture, and yes, we all have a little texture, even those of you that have good skin, you still have a little bit of texture going on. Number two reason, so it smooths and fills in pores. That's the first reason you want to use a primer. Second reason you want to use a primer is to give your foundation and powder something to cling to, something to adhere to. It helps lessen the transference. You know, you won't have as much. Now, some foundations, this is just going to transfer. But some, but the more you can do, in my opinion, I perspire on the face and I have oily skin. So I want to do as much as I can to prevent, in my uniform where I work, I have a collar on my uniform, and I don't like, that just looks so tacky to have that transfer on my collar, But anyway, that's what primers are good for. So are primers good? Yes. Do you need one? Yes. Like I said, it helps smooth the fills in the pores, and it helps even, fill in pores and texture and all that, and gives your foundation a foundation. It's a foundation for your foundation, something to adhere to, and which helps your makeup last longer and looks at your finished product will be a lot smoother. Now, the key to primers and foundation and anything is to, in between each, what I'm gonna call steps or layers, okay? After you cleanse your face, you wanna sit for a few minutes before you put your serums and moisturizer and all that stuff on, okay? So you cleanse your face, put your serums, moisturizers, all that, then you wanna sit for a few more minutes, okay? You cleanse your face, you sit for about 15, 20 minutes, at least 5 minutes. The longer you sit, the better things will melt into your skin, whether it's your serums, whether it's your moisturizers, your primers and stuff. It warms up. Your body heat will warm up those products and allow those products to melt and become one with your skin. Become one. Okay? Which will make your skin smooth, flawless, and better application. All right? So you've cleansed. You set for a few minutes, you put your serums and all that good stuff on, you set for a few minutes, now you put your primer. What kind of primer? There's two main, well, three, there's several different primers. There's silicone primers, and then there's lotion primers, and then there's primers like Becca, which is my holy grail primer. I call it's a cross between like a gel and a lotion primer, but you apply it differently. The way you apply Becca, Hourglass Mineral Veil, and Smashbox, those primers, you don't want to rub on like a lotion. You want to put them in your hand or fingertips, get them warm, rub it together, and then you pat those primers on. Those primers, when I first started using primers and I found out about Becca and stuff, and I'm like, I first got Becca and it didn't do so well. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? So I got on the internet and started researching what I found out, my application, because I was rubbing it on. And something I noticed when I rubbed it on also, it rubbed, it was like exfoliating or beating up and had crumbles and stuff when I rubbed it on. It's like, what is this? You know, and then I did some research and experimenting and found out I didn't, you know, if I pat it, first of all, warm it up. And this was any primers. Warm it up in your hand or your fingertips first, because your body heat will warm it up. And since your body's already warm, you're putting on a warm face, you want to press it into your skin. I didn't think it would make a difference. I'm like, yeah, right. How does the primer know whether I rub it in or pat it in? But yes, it knows. It knows. I see you. It knows what you're doing. Yeah, it really does make a difference. So if you have a primer that, you know, if you tried rubbing it on and it's like, oh, what's this? Try getting it warm. This is with all primers. Warm it up, heat it up in your hand, you know, fingertips first, and then pat it on. Try patting. That's the first thing you're probably doing wrong with your primer. Okay, then after you get your primer on, you want to let that sit, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, at least, you know, as long as you can. Try to, you know, at least 5 minutes, but the longer, once again, the longer you let it sit in between each step, the better the next application will be, okay? And the longer lasting your whole final face will be, okay? And less transference. Okay, now, one good rule of thumb, now, as with every rule, their rules are meant to be broken. Now, there's an exception to every rule, but as a general rule of thumb, silicone primers work best with silicone foundations. Lotion primer and oil-free primers work best with lotion-type oil-free foundations. Now, like I said, there are some exceptions to the rule, like with Becca. My Becca works well with almost all of my foundations that I have. Well, all of my foundations I can use Becca. However, since Becca is so, and like I said before, I have oily skin and I perspire on the face. I don't use Becca during the winter, because even those of us who are oily, during the winter, our skin still gets a little bit dry. Maybe not as dry or combination skin folks, but almost everyone's skin gets a little dry, all right, in the winter. So I don't use Becca in the winter unless I'm, you know, have a special gig or, you know, something really special or whatever. And the reason I don't, not because it doesn't work. Oh yeah, it works too well, because it's very mattifying. That's why I wear it in the summer, because it holds the sweat and oil back. I mean, keeps my makeup in place in the summer. Okay, but I don't use it in the winter unless it's something special, because it's too mattifying. It's too drying. You know, so if I, you know, and just think I have oily skin and I perspire, and I'm saying it's too drying and too mattifying, so you know it's mattifying. Okay, that's the Becca. Now, I'll give you some recommendations. Now that we know why you want to use primer and what primers are good for, which was the topic of this, are primers necessary? Yes. Now that you know they're necessary, you know the different types of primers, silicone, lotion, and what I call gel lotion and whatever, like Becca, Fenty, although Fenty's a little thin. It's kind of gel. Well, anyway, it's still another one you want to pat on. You don't want to rub it on. Because when you rub it, it will bead up. Because like I said, when I first did the Becca, it's like, what in the world? It started beading up and patching up. But when I pat it in like that, and then the other thing I was doing wrong, I wasn't sitting in between layers. So you got to let it wait. You know, even those that, and it's going to go on dry. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. The Becca, the Hourglass Mineral Veil, when you put those on, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel your face going to suck up like, did I just have a facelift or something? You're going, because it mattifies. Okay. Now, some good primers that I recommend. And like I said, when I do my primer video, I'll go back over this again, but just throwing some out there on the top of my head. Drugstore primers, my one that I would recommend, if you're only going to buy one, I would do the Rimmel Stay Matte. Rimmel Stay Matte. It works well with all of my foundations that I've tried, that I have so far, and it's good. It lasts long and it mattifies all day. Okay. Another good one would be the L'Oreal Infallible. Those are my holy grail, especially the Rimmel. That's my holy grail drugstore brand. And like I said, if you're only going to get one drugstore, I would get the Rimmel Stay Matte primer. It's like a white tube with purple cap and purple lettering, and it says Stay Matte, Rimmel Stay Matte. Okay. Now the other primers that I use, like I said, the L'Oreal Pro Matte, Infallible Pro Matte. I use now and that works well with almost all my foundations that I've noticed, high end and drugstore. Another drugstore foundation primer that I use is Milani. Now I only use the Milani primer with Milani foundation. Do you have to? And that's something else. Another question I have people. Well, I notice you use the same primer and the same makeup, same brand. Well, it's kind of, to me, although I personally do not use commercialized store-bought shampoo and conditioner, but for those of you who do, I'm quite sure, I know, I'll speak for myself, when I did use commercialized, I try to use the same brand and the same line. Okay, because you figured they should know it's going to work together. It's going to play well together, right? Right. Same thing works for your makeup. Now, that's just me. Now, there are some primers that work best with everything. Some don't. Some work just with that product line. Okay, so, you just have to play with it and see. But, like I said, the ones I've recommended thus far, the Rimmel Stay Matte, that so far has worked well with my high-end and drugstore foundations. I haven't had any problems. But for some reason, the Milani only, to me, in my opinion, for me, only works well with the Milani products. So that's all I use it for, is Milani products. Now, Maybelline has several different formulas of primers. I pretty much only use the Maybelline primer with the Maybelline, although Maybelline is owned by L'Oreal. To me, when it comes to the primers, I don't know, it's just kind of iffy. Okay, so that's why I just stick Maybelline primer. Now, that's just me. You do you, boo. Now, I try to stick with the whole line if I can. Unfortunately, they may have, let's say they have my primer, and they may even have my formula of foundation, for oily skin. But, however, they don't have the shade range. L'Oreal. They don't have the shade range, and there are several others. The shade range just isn't there. So, and Estee Lauder. Now, Estee Lauder's foundation range is superb. I think there's like 40 something foundation shades, but unfortunately, when it comes to powder, when it comes to the Estee Lauder powder, no, I can't use it. They have my shade, but not my undertone. They're cool. They're geared, unfortunately, Estee Lauder's powders are geared towards cool and neutral. And I'm a warm tone person. Okay, but anyway, that's different. We're talking about primers. Now, high-end primers, I recommend, like I said, Becca, except for winter. Now, if you only want to get one primer, if you can only afford, or you only want to get one primer for all year round, okay, I recommend either Hourglass Mineral Veil. That's a good year-round primer, high-end. And don't ask me how much these cost. I can't remember. Okay, and now that's more like that's one of them you pat. It's not a silicone. Now, for silicone, I recommend Smashbox. I've used Smashbox. That's a good one. Yeah, Hourglass, Smashbox. Kat Von D has a real good primer for year-round. But, yeah, those are all good year-round. Smashbox, Hourglass. Smashbox is silicone, but you can still use it all year round if you prefer. And I've noticed now with me, because I use the Smashbox Studio Skin, it works well with that. I think that's the only Smashbox foundation I have. I haven't tried it with any other, and it is the Studio Photo Finish silicone primer, Smashbox. So, but those are my recommendations, and that's why it's important to use a primer. Number one, smooth the skin. Make it more porcelain, smooth, fill in pores. Number two, helps your foundation gives your foundation something to adhere to and stay longer and last longer. Okay, so those are the reasons. So that's about all, and I'm thinking that's all I can think of as far as primers. But yeah, whatever I try to get the primers, if they make it for oily skin, formula primer with whatever foundation I'm using. Bobbi Brown, I use Bobbi Brown primer. If I can't find Bobbi Brown primer, or if I'm out, then I use my Holy Grail Becca or Hourglass Mineral, because those to me have been no fails. Have great success, but that's just a personal preference for me. I know everyone's budget may not allow them to get a primer, because some of these primers cost almost as much. Like Becca primer, it costs, I think it does cost more than the foundation. The primer's like $38, and I think the foundation is like $32, so it costs about the same. Lancome is a good primer. So, just, and they're all about the same price range. All these high ends that primers that I'm telling you about, the price range is about the same when you get into high end. Well, even the drugstore brands. But, so that's that. Drugstore, Rimmel, Stay Matte. High end, I would go Becca for summer. And for if you want just one high end for wear all year round, I would go with, Hourglass Mineral Veil, or Smashbox, or Fenty. That's another good one year round. Although if you're real oily, I don't know about Fenty. If you're real oily, if you're just regular oily, then yeah. But if you're real oily, I'm gonna recommend either Becca or Mineral Veil, Hourglass Mineral Veil. Okay. So, and that's it. And just remember, the lotion, the primers, such as the Mineral Veil, such as the Smashbox, such as the Becca, you do not rub those in. You want to pat. You heat them up. You heat all your primers up in your hand or your fingertips. Get them heated up with your body temperature. Then you pat them into your face, because that primer can see you. It knows how you applied it. It knows how you applied it. I don't know how I know. It just knows. It just knows. It has eyes. Silly, huh? I know it. But anyway, that's that. I don't want to make this too long. I'll talk to y'all later. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to drop me a line. Drop me a line. Hey, get me on the line, telephone line. Or you can type it out. Send me a message. I answer all messages. Now, I'm not going to say I answer all phone calls. If I don't have your number programmed, but anyway. So make sure if you call me, leave a message. I'll know who you are if I don't have your number already programmed. So I know who you are and what you want. What you want, girl? What you want? What you calling me for? What you want, Willis? But anyway, I better go. Talk to y'all later. You know how I work it. You know how I do it. Stay blessed. Take care of yourself and each other. And you know what comes next. Love, peace, and Soul Train. Have a good one. Talk to y'all later. Bye.